I actually love talking about this subject because you know, I think if you watch the series Mad Men, you know, from the 1950s in advertising and marketing, you know, if you'd been alive and been doing marketing then, you would have done the same thing for 40 odd years. You know, radio, press, TV, and print, and you know, along comes the internet and social and mobile, and thank God, because otherwise I probably would have been out of job a long time ago. As a 40-plus guy in marketing, you know, I would have been past my use-by date. But I think, you know, marketing is being fundamentally reinvented at the moment, and it poses big challenges for us as a major brand in Australia, and big challenges for us as marketing practitioners, and I think agencies too. So we'll start talking about a little bit like that in terms of, you know, we lived through many of us can remember the internet era of the 1990s, where we got to be able to search for information. Then along comes social and intercepts that journey, and this is the fundamental thing which is changing marketing. Whereas before they used to go from you know, search to your website to research and consider you. Now they're going into the social. And I was at Google Think Mobile and social in the States in November, and you know, 9 out of 10 consumers are consuming, you know, so 90% of consumers are consuming up to about 9 pieces of information in the social world, so before they come to you. So for us, that's got major implications. We've got this massive website which used to do a great job of that, but now a lot of it's redundant. So, you know, we've got all this information about how to do stuff and how to do business with us, and now we've got to put it somewhere else, in a place where our customers are searching where and when they're doing it, and we've got to be authentic to do that. The old days of pushing out information or interrupting people from the Mad Men era are over. Now you've got to interact with people and come across as authentic and real if you want your message understood. And look, Tip had some figures up there. You know that the world's crazy now online. You know, the Facebook stats are simply unbelievable these days. But you know, people are getting married online as well. You know, the items being shared on social, seeking opinions, people joining. Just the stats here blow you away. And while we might be interacting with traditional forms of media while we're doing this, we're actually you know, tweeting and researching while we're, you know, seeing on TV. And that, you know, Tip showed a stat of the amount of people watching TV, but there's more people online, and they're online while they're watching TV. You know, power has shifted. You know, and you need to listen to what's going on in the social world about what your customers are saying about you. And this is an example of a woman in the States who purchased a washing machine, and you know, she had a bad experience. And you as a company might decide that that's okay, that happens. But this woman's got 1.5 million followers, so suddenly you have to pay attention to what your customers are saying about you. And you know, we're essentially living in an expression economy. Where a lot of people every day are posting comments about they're sharing information about you, and they're more likely to purchase from you and recommend you if they do like you. So how do you get that to happen? That's the real challenge that we're all facing, a lot of us at the moment. It's got a stuck. Minor called technical error. Yeah, and you know, on top of the social, we're all doing this on the go now. So, you know, 80% of, well, 50% of Australians have a smartphone. 80% of those customers are online. And most of us are, you know, watching TV with devices in our hand, you know, going to social and researching based on what they might be seeing, or they're doing something else what they might be seeing. You know, we've got a stat which we put up from the Royal Wedding last year, which showed during the Royal Wedding, the log-ons to NetBank, our online banking platform, exactly mirrored the trend of people watching the mobile wedding online, and they dipped when Pippa's dress came on TV too, I think. So, you know, this interception of media cannot be ignored. And data, with 500,000 people going online, you know, big data is being powered by the live stream of what's going on social. So as marketers, you know, we must shift if we're going to be around, and companies must shift. If we're going to be, we've operated the same way for 100 years. What you've got now is a whole lot of technologies, and we've always been social, so it's not new. We've always shared information about products and services, trips we've been on, products we've bought. It's just that now there's a whole lot of technology and there's a culture of which is amplifying this beyond the water cooler of 10 people. So as marketers, it's posed to meeting fundamental challenges in how we deal with it. So I'm going to give you an idea I'll take you through what we're sort of calling sort of our 5 guidelines, the P's of marketing, and some of the things that we're doing in the social and mobile arena to try and be more authentic and real and encourage more people to interact with us. You know, and transmission is insufficient these days. You've got to participate. Back to my stat about what I said about Mad Men before. If you talk to people the way that advertising talks to you, they'd punch you in the face, and that happens all the time, still on TV, and that's becoming less effective because these days we want to know more. Sorry, it's stuck again. So my next slide talks about creating. You've got to create, build platforms for engagement, this is something that we did on Facebook. Facebook for us in a year has now got 150,000 followers. I think we're the 10th most followed bank in the world now. So it's they're a customer segment, and that's an audience that we have to pay close attention to, and an opportunity to engage with these people way beyond than we've ever done before. Community Seeds was a way of involving people in our community giving, whereas before, previously we might have just announced in the media that we've given $75,000 or $20,000 to a local community organisation. And what we did here was put up some charities on our internal intranet, get people to vote on them on the top 5. Then we put the top 5 on Facebook, and got our Facebook audience and the audience to come in and decide who we gave the money to. Again, a very different way to how we've operated in the past, and drove, I think, 40,000 likes for us on Facebook, and engagement levels that week on Facebook to unprecedented levels for us. And there's a lot of talk about external social media, but driving authenticity and empowering and acting different in social media starts internally. And we've been on Yammer, and we're just about to roll out our internal social collaboration tool widely across the bank. And again, the water cooler, this is an opportunity to listen what's going on in the organisation, to operate more collaboratively, and and share what's going on in your organisation. And I think it doesn't get a lot of attention to what's going on in the world of social. But I'm pretty sure that the younger generation coming through, they're not using email now. They're going to make choices on organisations, on how they operate and communicate. And I think the internal collaboration has got a big future in organisations. If the world around you is going social and mobile, it's very difficult to operate walled gardens in terms of how organisations themselves operate. And I know in a lot of big brands and organisations there's a lot of rules on how staff and whether they access external social platforms, or even whether or not you're going to have an internal social platforms. But those current thoughts have to be flipped on their head, and you've really got to embrace them and empower them rather than put up boundaries, because the reality is people are coming and doing it every day with, in our case, we've got a massive younger workforce in the branch network, and they're coming and doing it on their smartphones. So don't put up barriers, guide your staff, empower them to use these networks. Institutionalised listening, if we can just bring up that slide now. From the internet, one of the things that we tried this year was doing Ideas Bank, which was really successful. Which is, we put up there out to the Australian industry consumers and got people to submit ideas for what they would like us to do as an innovative idea or ideas in the bank, and then we got people to vote on them, and then we had a competition and awarded prize money. So we had over 600 ideas from and it's been very successful, and we'll do that again. But it's a very different way of doing business again. It's about bringing the consumer, into our organisation, and helps us being seen as a little bit more real than perhaps we might have done in the past, particularly as a big bank, as organisations, and a lot of people love to hate in Australia from occasionally when we put up interest rates. And, you know, the power of Facebook, which Tip talked about before, you know, the mobile and social, you know, offers a new way to connect with your customers. And we tried something last year, doing Facebook deals, offering free movie passes for people that checked into a CBA branch and opened a transaction account. And you know, we had to close it down after a week because we sold out of the free movie passes. But you know, it's something that you can see from us more in the future. Very successful. You know, channels are transforming. You know, I had a slide here which hasn't come through in the presentation today, but you know, we've gone from those 4 channels to looking at 50 channels, right? So, you know, you've got and the smartphone for us is a major channel. I think, you know, these things are anything but a smartphone. The last thing they are is a phone, smartphone. I just coined a new term there for a smartphone. But basically, you know, each one of us, I'm sure everybody in this room has probably got a smartphone, and every one of those phones is different from the device, but it's very different from the content on that device. And we all treat, it opens up a new world for every one of us, and it's quite private for some of the things that are on there. You know, how do you get into that world, you know? How do you add value, be authentic, and add utility and value to your customers? Sometime in the next 12 to 18 months, the phone will become the device which people interact with us the most on every day. So for a bank that's built around 1,000 branches, this is a fundamental change in the way that we have to operate and how we get content and how we communicate with our customers, and something that we're still dealing with. But you know, some of the apps that we've built down there, you know, the CommBank app, which also launches Kaching and CommSec, you know, that's used over 1 million times a day now, and 2.5 million people a week plus are using that. You know, that's only been in the last. We launched that app, relaunched that app in July last year, after having it out there for 2 years in the market with making no changes to it. You know, it was languishing in the App Store at 2.5 stars with about 400,000 people using it regularly. And since we've updated it and you know, embraced it and continually update it, you know, it's the numbers are going up every day. And like I said, the mobile device will be the device which people interact with us the most on. You know, one of the most important things I would add to how do you know, in terms of setting up social channels or mobile apps even, is that it's the content in them. You know, the content is the most important thing. You can set them up with all the technology, with all the sharing capability in the world, but if you don't continually love and embrace these channels, they will be dead. You know, they will die on the vine, and in this case, you know, the app will be deleted out of somebody's personal life, you know, probably within 12 months. You know, NetBank, this was our sort of first on Twitter. You know, listening on Twitter, a lot of people comment about our NetBank when it's up or down. So, you know, another very important channel in our social media mix, and helping us to be more authentic and real. So if we know NetBank is going down, these days we'll put up a message saying it is going to go down. If it does go down, you know, we used to wait. If it used to go down in our old world of doing PR, you know, if NetBank went down at 8 o'clock in the morning, we'd probably put out a media release in the afternoon, say at 4 o'clock, and say, look, sorry, NetBank's up. Sorry it went down, it's up now. But it now means that the advent of social and becoming more you know, real and authentic for our customers, and getting them to embrace us that way, is if NetBank goes down at 8 o'clock in the morning, we've got to be up with 8:01 acknowledging there's a problem and actively managing it. You know, social now leads the way in our issues management across the bank. You know, as I said before, content is the differentiator. You know, you need to produce content. So if these consumers are out in this world now consuming content about you before they make a decision, by the time they come to the website, it's too late. So how do you get out there with the content on a daily basis, where and when, and the consumer is looking for that content? You know, our blog, which we launched before Christmas, I think has got a very a big future for us in terms of the marketing mix, in terms of producing content every day, allowing that content to be amplified and shared throughout the networks. Allows us to talk about the banking, not just from a products and services and products point of view. In fact, that's probably the last way thing we talk about here, but it's more of a thought leadership piece recognising what's going in the world, on in the world, and putting out articles responding to that. And we've got full-time staff producing and managing this thing every day, and it probably has just an important future in our marketing mix as our website does at the moment. And part of the reason why that blog's important is because the number of messages going out every day which have links to them, and the conversation which it can generate off those links. While content is king, and content is just something to talk about, and to be of added value and to get shared. What's the value of that? What's the value of that content? And you can see from Coca-Cola's YouTube channel these days that 146 million views, 26 million on content from Coke. It's just these channels are now front and centre in terms of the marketing mix and from the way you talk to customers. And our own channel went through the 1 million views last week, and instead of putting up content on CommBank in text format about how to get a home loan, we'll now produce a short video which is how to get a home loan in video format in short segments. People are searching, going from the search, going into social, checking you out, and again, where are you and how do you get that content out there? Optimise for social platforms. We produced a television series last year, which we've got a lot of learnings from. We'll do some things differently again, but I'm glad we did it. A sitcom about financial planning, buying a house. For anyone interested, go and check it out on YouTube. Gamification. Seek new sources of engagement. This is going to hear a lot more about gamification, I think, from big brands going forward, whether in Facebook or their own gamifications themselves. I think when Harry Potter recently launched the movie, it did like 170 million in one weekend, but when Mortal Kombat 3 came out, I think, or I can't remember the name of the game, it did like 7.6 billion in one weekend. So gamifications and the communities and the opportunities to engage is another, for brands, is another area that can't be ignored. We've done it with our youth audience with Coinland. Enables you to tell your story in an environment and very different to how you've told your story before. And as I said before, of the 800 million Facebook users, many of them are in there playing games every day, and it presents a new opportunity for us as brands to engage. I think lastly and most importantly, in terms of being authentic, you can go and set up all these channels and produce content, but I think what they really bring to what social media does is bring to the fore the importance of being transparent, legitimate, and real and authentic. Because if you're not, you get found out very quickly, and you can't PR or over-comms these channels, and that's the challenge, and explain your purpose. Explains why you exist internally and externally, and that's why I think the internal social platforms, leading into the, linking those with your external social platforms and having, what your organisation does every day shared internally as well as externally, and everything from what you're seeing from your staff and what you're seeing from your customers, they become a decision filter. You're actively listening rather than transmitting, and it starts to drive results. And here's some examples of some companies, how we might sort of talk about purpose in a different way than we have done in the past. And I load bags onto airplanes, or I give people the freedom to fly. I mean, who do you want to do business with if that last attitude, as opposed to the first attitude, starts to come out in a company's purpose? I negotiate with vendors until they give me the lowest price possible, or I improve the quality of life for millions of Australians by helping them save money. I work for a grocer that has the highest profits, percentage of sales, highest same-store sales, or I help provide food choices for people that nourish their bodies, communities and their planet. I know who I'd rather do, I know what message I'd rather be listening to, but if those messages, it's fine to talk about that externally, but if they're not communicated internally, they're not going to make it external. And I think for many of us in the room, it's beholden on us to help change the world. I think it will help change your organisations to be more authentic. Marketers now with the social channels are in a very or social channels and social media has is very important in terms of companies and who they are, how they're managed, and it hasn't been easy in a lot of ways. I know it's not easy to set up in a lot of organisations, but the person who walks through the door first has got to get hit a few times, and if you're doing that in your organisations, I'd encourage you to still do that, because I think in our organisation, the world in the last 18 months and the reception that we get talking about social has very much changed, and even the most senior people at the bank are seeing the value of it, and seeing that not just marketing main change, that organisations must change to become more social and in touch with their customers, to be more authentic. So thank you very much.